Hey folks, good morning and welcome to another episode of Steelers Morning Rush here at the Steelers Now YouTube channel and anywhere you find podcasts. I'm Alan Saunders. Thanks for joining me again. Today is Thursday, August 22nd. It feels like it's about October 22nd. Another chilly morning here in Pittsburgh. Going to be a great day for another practice at UPMC Rooney Sports Complex on the south side where the Steelers will be later today. And of course, I'll be back here in front of you on the screen or in your earbuds with another episode of Steelers Afternoon Rush, but Steelers Afternoon Drive, but not with Zachary Smith. Smitty is off today. He is throwing out the first pitch at the Washington Wild Things game. Obviously, that is more important. So if you're of minor league baseball fan, get down to the Wild Things game and go boo Smitty when he inevitably bounces one 5 yards before the home plate. Today we're going to talk about some transactional things about guys and getting injured and injured reserve and waived injured and the differences between those things. And I had a good question from a member of the audience from yesterday's news, I guess, or 2 days ago's now news, that Nate Herbig is going on injured reserve and his season will be over. So the first part of this I want to explain is the NFL has a new rule about injured reserve. It used to be that if you were put on the injured reserve before the team cut down to 53, your season was immediately over, done. That's the end of the story. And they used to have to do this little dance. If you remember, like they will cut a guy so they can put somebody on injured reserve and then they will bring that guy back. They did it with Marcus Allen a few years ago. I think there were a couple other players they did it with too, where to get that guy onto the injured reserve so that he would be eligible to return. Players can return from the IR after 4 weeks now. And so that's a pretty viable option for someone that is not going to miss the entire season. Steelers might want to do that with Roman Wilson. I kind of doubt it, but we talked about it. Me and Smitty did yesterday. They might want to do it with Troy Fautanu. Again, I kind of doubt it, but those are options for them. Those guys could now, because of this rule change, go straight to the IR on cutdown day. They do not have to make the team and then be retroactively added to the injured reserve. But guys added now at this point are still out for the season, except there's this weird sort of workaround that maybe not everybody's familiar with or familiar how it works. You'll see oftentimes when we write about transactions at SteelersNow.com, you'll see a player was waived with an injury designation, which accomplishes a lot of the same things that injured reserve accomplishes, but is just a little bit different. So I kind of just wanted to explain it out. When you go on injured reserve, you stay on, you're removed from the 90-man and the 53-man roster, but your contract stays with the team. Nobody else can get you. And if there are future years on your contract, those future years stay with you and the team. So last year when Corey Trice was injured and was out for the season, the Steelers put him on injured reserve. There was no drama about it. He stayed on injured reserve all season, comes back this year. A season of his contract does go by while he spends it on injured reserve. So this is Corey Trice's second contract year. He only gets 3 as a late round draft pick. 4 as a late round draft pick. But he stays on the injured reserve. Another alternative to that is waiving a player with an injury designation. When you waive a player with an injury designation, he has to go through waivers. If he goes through waivers and clears, he still ends up on the injured reserve list, the same as putting him there directly. The difference is if players have a split in their contract, this allows the player to be charged for the lower amount. And that means that like a guy like David Perales, for example, young player, was here on a 1-year contract. When he was hurt, he tore his MCL in training camp. They waived him with an injury designation. He went through to the injured reserve list because it's a serious knee injury and he's probably going to miss most of the year. Perales is going to stay on the Steelers injured reserve list for the rest of the season, but he will not make his full salary. He'll make the split of his salary. When the Steelers renegotiated Cole Holcomb's contract, they introduced a split into his contract that was not there before, so that if Holcomb starts the season on the PUP list, which seems overwhelmingly likely right now, the Steelers will only be paying him a small portion of his salary and not all of it. So why didn't the Steelers waive Nate Herbig with an injury designation? Well, he doesn't have that split in his contract, so they would be paying him the full amount, whether he's waived injured or not. Also, there's this other thing called an injury settlement, where you take a player who's on the injured reserve, and instead of them being out for the entire season, the player's agents, the team's doctors, and the team's general manager can come together and agree on an amount of time that they expect the player to leave, to miss. And then the team can pay the player for that amount of time, waive them with an injury settlement, and that player can become a free agent. So this happens a lot. We just saw it with Nate Metters and Tariq Black and Kellen Barnes. All this just happened to them. They were waived with an injury designation. They made it to the injured reserve. Then the team and the player reached an injury settlement. So let's say Nate Metters is going to miss the first 3 weeks of the season. The Steelers will pay him 3 weeks of his split salary in this injury settlement, but he's a free agent now. He can go back to home, go back home, he'll train at home, and the Steelers still have to pay for all his medical treatment. But they're sort of washing their hands of the situation, saying, hey, when you're healthy, you can go sign with another team. The Steelers could do that with Nate Herbig if he is not expected to miss the entire season. Let's say he's expected to miss, 10 weeks. They could reach a 10-week injury settlement with him and release him at that point. There's usually some kind of offset that prevents teams from double dipping. So if they get healthier sooner, they can't make both. They just, if they sign another contract, the Steelers portion ends and the new team's portion begins. Will they do that with Nate Herbig? I don't know. And there's this one little very rare exception to this. So after that settlement period ends, if another 3 weeks go by and the player has not signed with another team, they are again eligible to re-sign with the team that put him on injured reserve. So let's say Nate Herbig has 10-week injury settlement and 3 weeks go by and nobody signs him. After week 13, he could re-sign with the Steelers. So that's when I write these stories about a player put on injured reserve right now. You have to sort of couch it, unless someone from the team is saying, yes, he's out for the year. You sort of have to couch it with this likely out for the season or likely ending his Steelers season, because it is very unlikely that he is going to end up playing for the Steelers again this year, but it's not completely impossible either. This whole system is quite arcane. There's a lot of moving parts here. And I think this is an area where when we think about things that might change, if the NFL is going to ask for a 20-game regular season schedule or at some point, or at least an 18-game regular season schedule in the near future, cleaning up this process, I think, could be one of the things that the players ask for in terms of just presenting a baseball-like short-term injured reserve that you can go in and out of at will, and ending this season-ending component where then you're incentivized to release players that you may actually want to keep, and the split salary part of things is messy. I think that's probably an area of this that the NFLPA would be would make a lot of its constituency very happy if it cleaned up. Nobody wants to earn a split salary. Nobody wants to go through waivers. Nobody wants to have to train from home after they've been injured and as a part of a team, even if the team's paying for it. It's kind of a slap in the face to send those guys home and make them do their rehab there. So that's just kind of wanted to clear that up. Somebody asked, Randy Tobias had asked, why won't the Steelers cut Nate Herbig instead of just leaving him on IR? You can't just release a player who's injured. It would have to be with the injury designation, and that would introduce, he would just end up back on the IR if he cleared waivers, and then they would have to reach an injury settlement. If they did reach an injury settlement and he's out for the season, there would be nothing. The injury settlement would just be the entirety of his salary. So maybe we will see them reach an injury settlement with Nate Herbig if he's not projected to be out for the season. But I kind of don't think they would have put him on the injured reserve at this point if there was any chance he was coming back. I think they would have just waited and put him on after the cutdown day or at the cutdown day and given themselves the ability to bring him back if they're going to pay him $5 million anyway. So that's, I hope I explained some of that. I hope it kind of cleared up some of the wonky wording and awkward reporting of transactions that don't seem on their surface to mean anything. If you have any questions about this, or if I screwed something up, please feel free to let me know. And I'll be back with more on Steelers Afternoon Drive a little bit later. Special guest, I hope today. Been working on this for a while. I believe it's happening today. Stay tuned. No Smitty. Steelers Afternoon Drive just after 5. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And we'll see you next time.